Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, September 20th. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. If it's Tuesday, that can mean only one thing. The lovely and talented Duane Long has graced us with his presence. Duane, how are you on this fine Tuesday morning in Ohio?
Oh, still basking in the glory of such a great win. Oh my goodness. I didn't go to bed until like 4 o'clock in the morning after that.
It was a glorious experience, celebration, I would say eerily reminiscent to the national stage games of a couple of years ago where things just start going well and never end. But let's talk about this. Duane, before the season, we both made predictions and how we thought the Buckeyes would do. I, being the publisher of Bucknuts, templated my 12-0 pick. You were more reasonable probably and picked 10-2. However, now my Pollyannish view might actually turn out to be correct. What has changed? Obviously, they're better than you expected. But what has changed? Why are they so much better than you thought?
It's a precocious bunch. That's all you can say. My concern, I knew we had just loads of talent here. There was no question about that. The question was, are we going to be good enough early enough? Because this was a big game. I mean, there was never any question about the level of talent here. I knew we had football players. It was whether they were going to mature soon enough. It's a precocious bunch. They've done it. I mean, going into Oklahoma. I mean, it looks like Oklahoma is not as good as we thought they were. But that's still a big time program, and it's a big time stage to go in there. First away game for a lot of these guys. Urban Meyer said something about that. I think he said something about it hit him while he was on the plane that this was the first time these guys would be actually on the field away from home. But look how they handled it. They just grew up quickly. They matured quicker than we thought they would, or at least I thought they would. I thought this game was going to be hard to win, and I thought maybe they'd stumble one other time while they grew up. But they've done it, and now you have to acknowledge what kind of football team this is. This is a team that now I would say I'm going to be disappointed if they don't go undefeated.
I feel that way about them from now on as Urban Meyer's coach. That sounds ridiculous, I get that, but someone's going to have to prove it to me as long as Alabama's on the schedule, and even then it's a pick them on a neutral field. Who are some of the guys specifically, though, this year that are ahead of schedule in your opinion?
I would say the entire offensive line. These guys, they did a really good job. I think that was such a key to winning Saturday night was how the offensive line, 291 yards rushing. They got to JT one time. It was just an outstanding performance by the offensive line. And, you said something on the boards about if you can't score 40 points, don't even show up because this team's going to score a lot of points. And that's what's got to happen. Let's start there. It's like going to a big money card game. If you don't sit down at the table with a certain amount of money, don't sit down. And that's where they are right now. You've got to score a lot of points to beat this team. I think that's big. I think the receiving core has matured. And a huge thing is the defensive backfield I can't remember the last time. I mean, I got to go back at least to John Cooper's time to find a defensive backfield that was equal to this. Outstanding. Lattimore finally is on the field, and he looks spectacular. And Conley is what we thought he was going to be. And then Malik Hooker has come out of nowhere and just become just a great-looking safety prospect.
This is a statistic you could never, obviously, research. But if you read some of the national coverage of the Buckeyes now, they refer to the secondary as the best in the nation, which is incredible. It's more incredible probably inside Columbus where people know the talent. How many teams have ever flipped 3 guys in the secondary and after 3 games are considered the best in the nation? I mean, that is unheard of.
When you look at Lattimore on his interception, that's called makeup speed. Guys behind him, and Lattimore just went and got him. Just went and chased the guy down and took the ball. That was an incredible interception.
The one that got called back was as well covered a play as I've ever seen. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. He knew the route on snap. He ran the route. I mean, they got him with the Des Bryant BS juggle thing on the ground, which is the bane of my existence, clearly. But if you watch that play again, he runs the route. The guy, he cuts him off and runs the route. It was unbelievable. And I realized after that play, I had forgotten how geeked I was about Lattimore even coming here. People forget, he was the number 2 player in Ohio. He was fantastic at Glenville. We'd kind of forgotten about him.
Last great player to come out of Glenville, actually. I mean, he looks like, we've been waiting on this. I thought this is the thing, Dan. He's just as good as on offense. Great receiver.
I gave this example out many times to people when, this may surprise people, at dinner parties, which, by the way, I don't go to, but when people ask me something on the street, it's usually about the Buckeyes. They know I don't have much of a personality, so they stick to that. And they were incredulous when I said I thought that the Buckeyes would be as good or better this year than last year, especially with the talent we lost. And the example I keep coming up with is, listen, when you were watching Carlos Hyde play for the Buckeyes, did you really think Ezekiel Elliott was going to come in and be better than him? And no one did. That's happening at almost every position now, Duane.
It's just an overall talent upgrade that we're seeing here. We just think about it. We had not only are they're talking about this defensive backfield as the best in the country. We just had 3 guys. They're in the NFL. One went in the first round, and how many made rosters? We're talking about NFL football players, and we're better now. That's incredible.
Yeah, I have always said that I thought at running back, Ohio State should always be able to throw in, no matter who gets hurt, a 1,000-yard NFL back. They should recruit that way. And now it's getting to be that way at almost every position. It's truly incredible. One player who would probably fit right into that, a class of 2017 standout, arguably the best defensive back in the class, Jeffrey Okudah out of Texas, was at the Oklahoma game, is reported to be, and we know this, an Oklahoma-Ohio State tussle down the stretch. There was some internet kerfuffle last night with some false rumors out that Okudah had made his commitment public. If he is a silent commit, you're not going to find that out until the day he pulls the trigger. What's your feeling on what Okudah may have seen? And obviously one game is not going to flip a kid or make his decision for him, but I imagine it'd be hard if you're Jeffrey Okudah to pick the Sooners after witnessing that.
Yeah, well, the thing that they'll argue is we need a guy like you to be as good as Ohio State. That's what Oklahoma would argue. But he's got to be looking at the fact that what just happened with the defensive backfield going on to the NFL, and he's looking at 3 or 4 guys that are probably going to play in the NFL who knows how soon. He's not going to have to sit long. That's what I would argue with him with Urban Meyer. You're in here 3 years, you're gone. And that's the way it is here. Well, that's the kind of talent we have, and you belong here. I think that he would have to look at how these guys are being schooled, how they're being coached up, and guys are going to the NFL out of here. That's something I've always believed this about players, out-of-state players. It's so key that you're putting people in the NFL at their position, and that's actually what Okudah can look at. Look at these guys are all going to the NFL. And the ones that are there right now, you're not going to have to sit behind them maybe a year at best, and you'll still get to play. They're playing a lot of defensive backs. And he watched the team go into another team's stadium. We kind of curb stomped them. We could have beat them worse, Dan.
Oh, no doubt.
We would have decided to keep the gas pedal, keep our foot on the gas pedal. We could have ran up another touchdown or 2. I
agree completely with that. I think he was trying to draw out the clock. That's Urban style. Get to 40. And then run it down their throats. Another Oklahoma guest, because technically Okudah was a guest of Oklahoma, another player who was there visiting Oklahoma who was, let's just say, impressed with what Ohio State did was Marvin Wilson, one of the best defensive tackles in the country and a Texas native. Wilson is in the mold of the guys we've chased in the past out of the South. Your huge, I would say classic plugger on the inside at 320 pounds plus. He has now said he's going to take a visit to Ohio State. I don't know if he already was going to do that, and this pushed him over the top. But your opinions on Marvin Wilson, and I know it's sort of a long shot now because they're getting in a little bit later, but I would never doubt the herb.
One of the top 5 tackles in the country. On my board, he's number 3, behind, in particular, Jay Tufeli. I like him a little bit better. Yeah, the guy's, he's massive. He's the one technique that we've been hoping to get for the longest time. If we could get that kid in here with what we've already got, we got Haskell Garrett is in my top 5. That's incredible right there. And you would say that it would be the best tackle recruiting class we've ever had.
If you go with Nick Bosa, Marvin Wilson, Jay Tufeli, and Jonathan Cooper.
And Chase Young.
Yeah. That's where we're at. I forgot a guy who's a 5-star out of my hometown.
Yeah, there's that many of them. Chase Young is another you can throw in there. So it's an incredible collection of talent that Urban Meyer's putting together here. And the thing is, he's recruiting on a national level. I'm telling you, we have not seen this since Pete Carroll was at USC. Somebody who could just walk across the country and pluck talent and take them back home. Incredible.
People forget Pete used to go into the East Coast every year and get a receiver out of New Jersey or whatever, the Dwayne Jarrett types. He would just cherry pick them out of the East and all across the nation. So you're making a very good point there. And we had something in the boarding house yesterday with a guy I trust who's been in the league or has been covering football for 30 years, thinks they're in that mix all time-wise, which is fantastic. All right, we're going to finish the show as we always do. This week there will be some changes. Duane, your eye test top 5 for the nation as of this morning.
Well, number 1, I'm going to still stick with Alabama, even though I think that Ohio State could very easily be number 1. I think that the talent level across the board could be better at Ohio State right now than Alabama. Time will tell. Number 2 is Ohio State, or we could call them 1A and 1B. We could do that. Number 3, Louisville. Wow. I mean, you want to talk about a curb stomping. To take the number 2 team in the country and just dismantle them like that. It was, Florida State just wasn't in the game, didn't have an answer. Louisville just crushed them.
For the title race.
Number 4.
Had 15 guys on the field.
It was incredible. I sat and watched a blowout game, something I wouldn't do unless it's Ohio State, especially with other games on. But I could not take my eyes off of what was happening. It was just, wow. Number 4 would be Clemson. They still got Deshaun Watson, and that who they beat doesn't. 59-0. Ohio State would have scored 80 points in that game. Didn't really impact me. Yeah, I'm dropping them with a 59-0 win. And number 5 is I'm going to go vacant, Dan. I'm looking around the country, and I'm just not seeing a team. I mean, you could throw Houston in there, but I wasn't impressed with them when we got to see them against Cincinnati. I'm not on the Jim Harbaugh bandwagon, and that's the only reason that Michigan's ranked as high as they are. I just don't see anybody. I haven't. Colorado. Yeah, that's what I've heard from people who watched the game, that they were awful. You look around, Stanford's ranked up there pretty high, and they've only played 2 games, and I haven't seen them. I'm just not seeing a team that rates being called a top 5 team right now. Like I said, I might throw Houston in there. They've beaten Oklahoma, but Oklahoma just was not as good as we thought they were. Ohio State just blew them out of the stadium. I could throw Houston with a gun to my head. I'd put Houston number 5 again. But yeah, I'm just not seeing a team.
Yeah, Houston, you got to give them credit. Road wins with Oklahoma and Cincy. Although they may have been home for Oklahoma. Now that I think about it, yeah, it's impressive. But I would agree with you. To me, I think it's a 2-tier system here. I've got Bama and OSU kind of out in front, then Louisville in its own group, and then everybody else. I don't think Clemson's going to be able to hold up. They look to me like a team that's been reading their press clippings. I don't care what the scores have been. I think they will Clemson themselves out of it. There you have it, Buckeyes. Maybe we'll come up with some negative things to talk about in the future, but as of right now, it's all sunshine and daffodils. We appreciate Duane stopping by. Have a great one, Bucknuts.